Hey, we have a little surprise for you. If you'll check under your chairs right now, someone is going to be a big winner. Check under your chairs, please. No, this ain't Oprah. I'm lying. We're sports writers, sportscasters. I have a very odd announcement. Now, if anybody parked on the Liberty Street parking deck, turns out it closes at 8. So if you're in the Liberty Street parking deck, what's that, by the bus station? You got to go get your car by 8 or just party with us all night. Now, because we're sports, we got to sing the national anthem. To do that, we got a very special young man to do it. He goes to the UNC School of the Arts here in town. Please welcome Jalen Hicks.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Well done. How old are you? The kid's 19 years old. Well done, Jalen Hicks. Well done. Let's eat. We'll see you in a little while. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, once again, please welcome your MC tonight, Rick Riley.
Thank you. I like this guy delivering the food. He doesn't even work here. He just walked in. Do you work here, sir? He's walking around with food. Well, this is a historic night. We had been in Salisbury for 57 years. Thank you, Salisbury, but thank you especially. Tonight, Winston-Salem starts a whole new period of history for the National Sports Media Association. So 57 years in Salisbury, Winston-Salem, 2 towns. That's 114 years at least we hope to be here. So we'll see you in 2131, and we'll redo the contract. I swear I'd been to this building. I wrote a movie nobody saw called Leatherheads. Anybody see Leatherheads? Well, Leatherheads was a football movie starring George Clooney, and I swear we shot here, right? Where? This room? I'll be damned. Really? So we also shot a bunch of football scenes in Greenville, South Carolina. And George Clooney hired a woman named Renee Zellweger to be the co-star. I don't know if you remember her in it. So, and they had been a couple in real life 4 years before. So there was a lot of interest with paparazzi and stuff, I remember. And so there was a lot of security around us and the crew and all that. And so we had this high school football stadium, I think it was high school, in Greenville, South Carolina, right? And they put up all these fake trees and shrubberies and all this stuff, mostly to make it look good, but also to keep out all the paparazzi that was trying to get in. So we're shooting, Clooney's wearing his leather pants and his scratchy wool jersey, and Zellweger's up there, and everybody wants a shot of these two together. So we're shooting, and Clooney says, okay, 5-minute break. And so one of the security guys goes over to take a pee on the shrub, and the shrub goes, cut it out! And the shrub was a paparazzi who had disguised himself with all these bushes, and he was in there snapping. And so the security guy brought the soaking wet shrub up to talk to Clooney. What should we do with him, Mr. Clooney? And Clooney said, take his film and let him go. He suffered enough. Now that's my main memory of Leatherheads, but thank you, Winston-Salem. This is so cool to be here. And imagine the perfect marriage this is. Winston-Salem, makers and inventors of Krispy Kreme. Sportswriters and sportscasters love donuts. It's perfect. So just to tell you all from Winston-Salem who we are, sportswriters, sportscasters. Sportswriters gave you great lines like, Willie Mays' glove is the place where triples go to die, right? Written by Jim Murray. The race is not always to the swiftest, nor the battle to the strong, but that's the way to bet, Damon Runyon. And watching Phil Mickelson play golf is like watching a drunk chase a balloon near a cliff. That was actually me, I just want to say. Sportscasters gave you some of the most memorable lines. Any kid can memorize these. Do you believe in miracles? Al Michaels. I'll see if anyone knows this one. I don't believe what I just saw. Jack Buck. You're going to pay me how much? That was Skip Bayless. That was a different. Now, sportswriters and sportscasters, a few things about Winston-Salem. Maybe some of you here for the first time. There's a giant, big coffee pot. Thank you. There's a giant, big coffee pot in the middle of town, right? And it's been there forever because I was looking through it. How long has that been there? Forever. So it doesn't actually work. But if you filled it with coffee, it would hold 11,840 cups of coffee, which is exactly what Stephen A. Smith drinks before he goes on the air. So that's something. World Series, Winston-Salem is known especially, am I right, for art and hipsters, right? And sportswriters are known for Art Spander, who just got a new hip. But you guys don't know Art Spander. Winston-Salem has a very popular mayor. He's been reelected 4 times. For some reason, right? His name is Alan Joynes, correct? And he's right here. Alan, thank you. Boy, you are popular.
Well, thank you. Good evening, everyone. You know, there are times when it's good days to be mayor and bad days to be mayors. It's those bad days when the snow comes and you don't get the streets clean. But it's tonight that we are thrilled to be the mayor of Winston-Salem and to welcome each one of you to our city. We are the city of the arts and innovation, and maybe new hips as they come along. But we are a city that's rebuilt ourselves. We were an old manufacturing city of tobacco, textiles, and furniture, and now we're a city that's growing body parts just a few blocks from here in the Innovation Quarter Research Park.
What?
We are. So if you need a new bladder or whatever, we can fix you right up there. So you don't have to pee on that shrub, you know, you can do it there. So seriously, we're so delighted that the National Sports Media Association has chosen to move their headquarters to Winston-Salem and to have this event every year. We will do our best to make this association really hum over the next 57 years here in Winston-Salem. We're a city of about 242,000 people in a metro area of 1.6, and we tonight feel like almost New York City with all this excitement as we're here tonight. So on behalf of our citizens and the Board of Aldermen and our City Council, we're just delighted to have you in our community, and if you get any parking tickets, you can give it to him.
That guy doesn't look like a mayor. He looks like a guy in a Cialis ad or something. Congratulations. Wow. You got a coffee pot and a couple tubs you can get it? Now, couple other things about Winston-Salem. It's got a dash in the middle of it. Some of the sports writer editors here might say it's a hyphen. We call it a dash. The Winston-Salem Dash is actually the name of their minor league baseball team. How cool is that? And it's Forsyth County, right? It's not Forsyth County. It's Forsyth County. And one of the leaders of Forsyth County actually does have a dash in his name. And his name is Fleming Al-Amin, and he's here now to greet you, Mr. Al-Amin. Pleasure.
Good evening. Welcome to Forsyth County. That's the larger level of government. But on behalf of the 7 commissioners in Forsyth County, I'm honored, especially in behalf of David Plyler, who I call my WTOB mentor. He was a radio announcer a long time ago. I used to be on WAA as a jazz enthusiast. So on behalf of the commissioners, I want to welcome each and every one of you. We hope to make this a very pleasant experience for you, so you'll be here at least 57 plus 1. We have to break the Salisbury record. We're in the competition in this area. Very quickly, Forsyth County was formed back in, 1849, out of Stokes County. Winston-Salem was formed in 1913. So even though the mayor is more popular, I'm the more senior representative. But in all seriousness, we hope that you enjoy your stay here. Welcome to Forsyth County. It's our pleasure and our honor to have you here. And we know that sports enthusiasts bring back something called reserves to the community on a large scale, that multiplier effect. I remember one guy saying, "Down goes Frazier, down goes Frazier, down goes Frazier." Now I'm a young 65, but that's the first connection I had with sports announcers. This big old guy named Sonny Liston got knocked out by a little young guy from Louisville, Kentucky, who became Muhammad Ali. And so I sort of followed his career throughout his whole life. And I've been to Louisville a few times to visit this museum. So again, on behalf of the Forsyth County commissioners, welcome, enjoy your stay here. If you get any tickets in the county, you can also pass them on to yours truly.
The county. Damn. Everybody's cool here. They got jazz people running things. This is great. Thank you. Mr. Al-Amin, have you heard of Frank Gifford? Well, Frank Gifford had arguably the world's longest consecutive winning streak in American history. He was, as you know, NFL MVP for the New York Giants. He played 9 seasons for the Giants on both sides of the ball. He was an amazing guy, cool, smart, fast. He could do anything. He got hit in 1961, Mike, by Chuck Bednarik, and Chuck Bednarik hit him so hard that Bednarik broke things in Frank Gifford that he didn't even know were broken. He was out for a year and a half, and it was only at the end of that they found out he'd broken his neck. But Frank Gifford never complained, so they didn't know to check his neck. Now, in that year and a half, he was offered a job on CBS radio, and he took it because the radio job paid more than the New York Giants job. Do we have any radio guys here? Do you just want to kill yourself right now? Nowadays, what a radio guy makes wouldn't pay for the live poodles that a New York Giant feeds his white Serbian tiger. Am I right? Wouldn't even cover that. But of course, Gifford couldn't resist, went back to football after this, but he came back. He played on both sides, running back and defensive back, came back as a flanker for the Giants, made the Pro Bowl at all 3 positions. Nobody in history has ever done that. Flanker, running back, and defensive back. He was not just incredibly versatile as a player, he was incredibly versatile as a broadcaster. Most people know that he was the play-by-play guy, not the color guy. He was an athlete who became the play-by-play guy in Monday Night Football with Howard Cosell, who sounds a lot like Ali in your impression, by the way. Howard Cosell and Dandy Don Meredith. And he somehow kept the peace in that booth, and he didn't have a taser. I mean, that was a very, very hard job, and he did it incredibly gracefully. He didn't just call football. He called also golf. He called skiing. He called the Olympics. He called Wide World of Sports. He once danced in a musical. And when he was in college at USC, I didn't even know this, but they filmed a Dean Martin, Jerry Lewis movie, right? And at the end, Jerry Lewis kicks the winning field goal. But of course, Jerry Lewis couldn't kick a field goal. They brought on Frank Gifford. He kicks the field goal, and he is uncredited in that movie. So the guy could do anything. This is amazing. His daughter married into the Bobby Kennedy family. Gifford family, Kennedy family, at the wedding, and the family was just so impressed. And I'm talking about the Kennedy family. That's how cool the Gifford family is and how cool Frank Gifford was. We always said Frank Gifford was the coolest guy to walk into any room, whether it was a locker room, whether it was Toots Shor's, whether it was the Oval Office. So it's my honor to present posthumously Frank Gifford into the NSMA Hall of Fame. Frank, if you're listening, we think it's so cool that you've walked into our room. And thanks to everyone who remembers Frank Gifford. Here, picture. So, now Bob Costas was supposed to be here tonight. He was covering the US Open. He wandered into that really high rough, and nobody's seen him for 2 weeks. So, it's not true? You know what? He sent a video. Here it is.
Rick, thank you very much. You know, I'd love to be there in Winston-Salem, but when they moved this thing out of Salisbury, I took a personal vow. I refuse to attend any ceremony where a Waffle House is not within walking distance. And besides, Rick, if you were me, would you leave a beautiful apartment like this, so perfectly appointed, so beautifully lit, so Bob Costas? So this is the best that I can do, Rick. And anyway, my part is small. I'm going to get out of the way, and Bob Ryan is really going to introduce my longtime friend, Mike Lupica. We're almost exactly the same age. We're pretty much close to the same size. In fact, Joe Garagiola back in the 80s, when he used to see us at the batting cage, used to refer to us as the bookends. And I'll take that as high praise, because Mike Lupica remains one of the few true, enduring newspaper men. He comes out of a tradition that includes Red Smith and Jimmy Cannon and Jim Murray and Jimmy Breslin, Pete Hamill, Mike Royko. Sports, yes, but not confined to sports. A guy who, when the circumstances called for it, could be sentimental in recalling someone who deserved that kind of appreciation, but could also be hard-hitting, and who could do it on deadline. You got 45 minutes? He'll turn out a masterpiece in 45 minutes. You want a longer piece? He'll give you that. And always, and this is the most important part, you put your hand over the picture, you take away the byline. The style is so distinctive, you always know it's a Mike Lupica story. My only question for you folks in Winston-Salem is, what took you so long? He's been a Hall of Famer almost from the day I met him. And tonight, he's officially a Hall of Famer. I'll let another Hall of Famer, Bob Ryan, take it from here.
Yeah, tough act to follow. You know, I know the spirit of Pete DiMizio and the city of Salisbury is hovering over us tonight as we embark on our new life here in Winston-Salem. I want to congratulate all the state and national winners, the Lifetime Achievement winners, and the Hall of Fame inductees. And I want to give a special welcome to our great friend, Brian Lewis, president of Catawba College. Brian, we'll never forget your enthusiasm and support for our organization. Where were we? Oh, yes. Now, that said, October 25, 1971, an afternoon holiday game at the Boston Garden. The Celtics beat the Hawks, 136-116. Dave Goren said 27. I was approached after the game by a young man from Boston College. He introduced himself as a fan of basketball and my work. I guess I should have asked for his autograph. It was Mike Lupica. Anyway, as he himself likes to say, that's my story and I'm sticking to it. Other than Leslie Visser, who knew him at BC, I lay claim to knowing Mike Lupica longer than anyone in our business. I have seen him in his many, many incarnations, including sportswriter for the Boston Phoenix in Alternative Weekly. Our Georgia State broadcast winner, Steve Holman, says he remembers Mike being denied entry into an event because they said he didn't have the proper credentials as a Boston Phoenix guy. Well, said incarnations include magazine feature writer, beat writer, columnist, novelist, radio host, TV commentator, TV host, as told to collaborator, and author of straight sports books, detective novels, and an ongoing run of sports-oriented novels aimed at that most elusive of reading audiences, the adolescent male. He may be singly responsible for keeping literacy alive in that elusive demographic. Many a friend has brought a Mike Lupica book to me, asking for a signature while telling me it's the only thing his or her son actually reads absent a pistol pressed to his head. You want an appropriate word to describe Mike Lupica? How about prolific? He writes his columns, he does his TV. Did I mention his podcast? He churns out books annually. Weekly? Daily? Hourly? Now there is even a political column for the New York Daily News. But in the midst of it all, he has a vibrant family life. He is the husband of Taylor and the father of Chris, Alex, and Zach, and Hannah, and he's the polar opposite of an absentee dad. And I must tell you, he doesn't neglect his golf game. Now, how does he do it? He's pretty damn good at what he does. That's that simple. Now, I really got to know him during the 1976 NBA playoffs. I was covering them for the Boston Globe, and he was covering them for the New York Post. Those were the golden days of unlimited budgets and carte blanche living for writers. We bounced from Boston to Buffalo to Washington to Cleveland, loving every minute of it. Our seminal moment came when we arrived at the Buffalo airport one morning and put our bags down. An agent said, "Where to, boys?" I looked at him, he looked at me. Neither one of us remembered where the hell we were going. Trust me, you can't make this stuff up. Now, he was precocious in this business, yes, but he was always totally respectful of his elders. Unofficial mentors included, Jimmy Breslin, Bud Collins, William Goldman, and Elmore Leonard, to name a few. Jimmy Breslin, of course. I'd be willing to bet that the first phone call Frank Gifford, our great Hall of Famer who passed away this year, he placed when he was assembling his dream staff for the late lamented National, I'll bet he called Mike Lupica first. Yes, he's a man of many hats, but the reason we honor him tonight is that he is one of the great sports columnists we've ever had. I truly believe some people were put on this earth to be a sports columnist. Such a person has vast sports knowledge on a variety of sports. Mike Lupica would be Exhibit A, given that in addition to being extremely knowledgeable in baseball, basketball, football, college sports, and hockey, well, New York hockey anyway, he's among the handful of upper echelon tennis savants among newspaper writers in the past half century. And don't bother trying to top him in golf knowledge. That goes for you too, Riley, be it history or, yes, technique. He can turn a phrase with anyone. But what has made him so valuable to his bosses over the years is the fact that he can answer the bell with authority on demand. He is an AM sports editor's columnist's dream, able to dash off a brilliant reflection of a just-departed icon in time for the final edition, or capture the essence of a post-midnight World Series game. He doesn't need 5 hours of mental bloodletting in order to submit a masterpiece. No one is better at a big event. As such, he was made for, yes, New York. Another important asset is that he understands fandom. He knows how to push their buttons. He just plain and simple gets it. And there is a reason why he was the youngest regular sports columnist in New York newspaper history. I've watched it all with affection and amazement. Now, you flattered me 6 years ago with this honor, and now it's my great pleasure to welcome to the club the man who I like to call my younger brother in this business. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you Mike Lupica.
Thank you very much. I wasn't aware that Cialis jokes were in play. First of all, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Dave Goren. Thank you for the hospitality that I have seen just in the 24 hours I have been in Winston-Salem. And, I was going to say some stuff about Frank Gifford tonight, but Rick handled it, except you forgot the one thing we talked about. He once shared a locker at Yankee Stadium with Mickey Mantle. So it was icon on icon. And again, congratulations to the association for remembering Frank Gifford, who should never be forgotten. My sons are here tonight and have established an over-under number for how long they think I'm going to speak, but won't tell me what the number is. But when they were infants, my wife used to say to me when they wouldn't sleep, honey, why don't you go up and tell them again the story of your career, because it's always acted as a powerful sedative. This is the only life I ever wanted to have, and I did get a column at a very young age, but I learned at a very young age that I wasn't necessarily flying in the first class cabin of American life. I had a column for about 6 months, and I was writing a column about the last game of the football season. The Jets are playing the Buffalo Bills, and they're both awful. And it's the year after O.J. Simpson has gained 2,000 yards. I don't know what happened to him, but that's not the point of this story. But because he had been had such a good year, his offensive linemen had become celebrities for the first time. They were called the Electric Company. Rick, you remember, Reggie McKenzie was their spokesman and their leader. But now O.J.'s gone. The team's terrible, and they've retreated back into obscurity. So I call him the night before the game, and I said, and I write a column about that. And he said, listen, come down after the game. I said, I'll have a tight deadline, but I'll have time to just get one more quote from you. So they're playing at Shea Stadium in those days, which was colder in the press box than it was on the field. And I'm wearing a parka with a hood on it. And I'm typing on my little old Olivetti letter, and on frozen fingers, but now the game ends, and I'm going to go down. Big-time New York sports columnist. I'm going to meet my new friend, Reggie McKenzie. So I go down to the locker room, and I still got my parka on, and I've still got my hood on, and I've always carried just little notebooks. And he's talking to another writer, and I'm kind of still new in town, so there's a certain protocol that you don't interrupt, and I'm just waiting for the other writer to finish. But as he's talking to the other writer, he starts to look over at me. And I'm just standing there, not minding my own business, just got my little notebook, my little pen. The third time he looks over at me, he takes my notebook, he takes my pen and writes, "Best wishes, Reggie McKenzie." He did everything except, how do you want me to make this out, kid? And so from that moment on, I never took too seriously the life that I had entered. I have been unbelievably blessed in my career, and I will tell you a little bit about it. I was at Boston College, and I got a call one day from the sports editor of the Boston Globe. And Bob talked about my books today. As I've gone around the country and talked to kids for years, I tell them always, if you write something, make sure it's your best work, because somebody might see it that day, and that person might change your life. And he said, we'd like you to write a piece for the Boston Globe. And I'm thinking, no, Mr. Roberts, let me check my schedule. I'm extremely busy with the school paper and working. Yeah, right. And I wrote a piece for the Boston Globe, and they ran it on the front page. And from that moment on, as my friend Pete Hamill said, the template was cut. All I ever wanted to be was a writer. All I ever wanted to do was live the life that all of us in this room, in some form or fashion, have. And it's a life that all of us who are in it now protect more fiercely because it's under attack so often. Whatever kind of media, you read the papers, you read social media, and you know. But that was the day Ernie Roberts opened a door for me and opened it wide enough that I could walk into the rest of my life. And then I'm at the Globe, and I'm with Bob Ryan, who's one of the great newspaper columnists of all time. I mean, there is sports writing royalty in this room tonight. Rick Riley's one of the great sports writers I've ever read in any medium, any time, any era, any time. Bob is the same way. And I'm taking dictation from Bud Collins. And I'm working with Peter Gammons. And I'm one of the great, but in the back of my mind, all I wanted to do was get to New York. I wanted to get to New York, and I wanted to do what Jimmy Breslin and Pete Hamill did. I wanted to write a column and maybe parlay that into the writing books. There was no plan beyond that. So I get hired by the New York Post, and I write 4 features the first week. And one was on Johnny Majors, and one, I don't even remember what they were. But so I go in the next week, and I look at my schedule, and the Knicks are opening the season. The Post was the Knicks newspaper. And I look at my schedule, it says Knicks game story, Knicks off day, Knicks. And the sports editor of the Post in those days was a Runyon-esque character named Ike Ellis, who spent a lot of time on the phone talking to his bookie, but also running one of the best sports sections of all time in New York City. And so I screw up my courage, and I go back to the back of the sports department, and I said, Mr. Kell, and he's saying, Give me the Phillies and 6.5, and give me. And finally, he looks up, and he says, "What?" I said, "Mr. Gallus, I couldn't help but notice my schedule next week. The Knicks are opening the season. You have me covering the Knicks. I thought Lenny Lewin covered the Knicks." And he looked at me and he said, "Not anymore." And no one had ever told me that I was, and to say that, by the way, to say that I was hired out of obscurity would be insulting to actually obscure people. I'm 23 years old. I'm far more obscure than that. But now I was in this life, and I told this story the other day, but I'll tell it again to a bigger group. The second game the Knicks play that week is in New Orleans. Red Holzman is one of the greatest basketball coaches of all time. In my second game in town, he does something that I think is terribly, hideously wrong, and I just kick the crap out of him, and it's the back page of the Post. We return to New York that night, and the third game of the season is against the Boston Celtics. Ryan is there. He is a witness to the story. So we go into Red's office after the game, and Ryan asked a question about the game that had just been played. And Holzman starts to answer, then he turns to me and he said, "Why don't you handle that one, Mike? You've been around this game a long time."
That's pretty good.
And before long, I'm at the news, and 100 feet down the hall, sharing office space are Jimmy Breslin and Pete Hamill. And it's just, all I remember is smoke, the cigar smoke and the cigarette smoke and all this incredible magic in between it. And now I'm in the life, and I'm getting to live out my own dreams. And one of the things that has made me sad as I have gotten older is that the young, talented people now might not have the opportunities that we had. The business is shrinking without question. But Rick and I were talking about this at the hotel today, and I hope that talent still finds its way, because I've always believed that if you're good enough, whether you are a sports writer or whether you are a sportscaster, that you will be found. When I got my column at the News, after covering the Knicks for a year, this editor of the Daily News was a guy named Mike O'Neill. And he was looking for a younger columnist at that point to sort of balance off Dick Young, who was getting a great columnist who was getting considerably ornier as he got older. He may very well, and which brings us, Rick, back to Cialis. But see what I did there? So he takes Michael Burke, one of the flamboyant figures ever in New York City sports. He ran the Yankees, and he ran the Knicks, and he ran the Garden. He ran Ringling Brothers, Barnum and Bailey Circus, and they were best friends, but I didn't know any of this until years later. And he takes him out to lunch. He says, I got to find a younger columnist. And Burke says, I could give you 10 names from around the country, and they would fit what you're looking for exactly. He said, but there's this kid covering the Knicks for the New York Post, and I was that kid, and I have to tell you, I'm still that kid. I was writing 4 columns a week when I started. I'm writing 5 columns a week now. It's insane. I still write 2 columns a week for the news. I'm writing 3 columns a week for a wonderful platform at Sports on Earth, and I have been propped up my entire career by talented people. Everybody here who writes for a living knows how important a good editor is and a good copy editor is and how often you get saved by them. We are all in this life together. This night, it's a wonderful honor that you have given me tonight, but this is about a celebration of our business. And we have to protect this business. We have to fight more fiercely than we ever have before because the business is under attack. When I hear fake news, it upsets me on a number of levels because it's not. Because I am staring out at people who do good and professional and honorable work. I have been very lucky in this business. My 3 sons are here. Please stand up. Christopher and Alex and Zach. My friends Carla and Joe and Jeff are here, but my sons are my best friends. And here's the thing. They have made me such a better sports writer because they have convinced me of an essential truth about sports, and that is the good old days are now. You want to glaze your eyes, tell them about the old days. Michael's old. I love Michael. Michael was the main event for me. If I had to pick one athlete to play for my life, it's Michael Jordan, okay? But they don't want to hear about that. LeBron's going to be old news one day. Kobe's getting to be old news. The walkway keeps moving. I see sports through my son's eyes, and it's kept me current. Thank you. My wife and daughter, and not because they wanted to skip this speech. My wife and daughter are on their way to Africa tonight. I know it sounds like an elaborate ruse, but it's a trip that was long planned. When Ryan called me and told me I made the Hall of Fame, and when he first told me I've been nominated for the Hall of Fame, I said several people are going to have to die. My wife said, call him up, ask him what the date is, because it couldn't possibly be June 26th. Well, of course, they're gone. And my pops, my 93-year-old war hero pops is not here, and my mother. I don't know whether, boys, I've made the over-under number or not. But I want to stress again today that I have been able to live out my dreams. I have been able to live out my dreams. And the young people in this audience are tremendously important. And I want to believe that you will get to live out your dreams the way I have. All I ever wanted to do was write a newspaper column. Everything good that has ever come to me in my professional life has come to me because people were interested in what I had to write and what I had to say and what I thought. I never cared about what anybody else was saying. I don't go on the internet to find. I don't care. I've never cared. I will go to the game and I will see it and I will pick out what I think is important and I will tell you about it. And we talked about this at a seminar. The new technology is great. I'm not threatened by it. I embrace it. It's made my life infinitely easier. But I'm still doing the same thing I did when I got to New York 1,000 years ago. If you pick up my column, I'll tell you what it was like to be at the game with me last night. I'll tell you what I think about the important issues of sports. And fortunately, I'm still getting to do this. To get a call from Bob Ryan telling me about this was one of the great honors of my life. I will never forget this occasion and this night. I got to run with people who are giants in this business. I've appreciated it every single step of the way. And when the phone rings and somebody tells me something's happened in sports, I say, how long do I have? And they'll say 40 minutes. And they know that they'll have a column in 40 minutes. And it might not be my best work. The great Pete Hamill used to call journalism history in a hurry. We all deal with history in a hurry. But man, if there's one thing I've had, and Rick has had, and Bob has had, we've had fun. We've all gone through this life not believing that we actually got to get paid to do this for a living. I will keep writing as long as people are interested. I'm still that kid, and I don't quite know how I got to the other side of this, but it's a great honor for me. It's a great honor for my family. And again, everybody in our business, don't you let anybody run this business down without fighting back, without planting your feet and telling the truth and saying, no. We are not the enemy of the people. We are the safeguards of the truth, and we are the friends of everybody who picks up anything that we write or listens to anything we say or watches anything we do on television. It was a great life when I came out of Boston College. It's a great life now, and don't let anybody ever tell you differently. Thank you so much.
Beautiful job, beautiful. Who wants to give you something? Well said, thank you. My mic's still on. You know, it's funny you should mention fake news, Mike, because I've been asked to get up. There's been some rumors going around that aren't true. It's fake news, and I've been asked. Dave asked me what I just quick. It's not true that Caitlyn Jenner won a mixed doubles tennis tournament today by herself. That is not, I don't know how that got started. Not true that an empty limousine pulled up to the Drake Hotel yesterday and Jay Cutler got out. That's a complete, that's not true. Yes, stay, please. Not true that there was a Winston-Salem businessman today, had a break-in at his office. There were 2 Hornets season tickets on his desk. Somebody left 2 more. That's not true either. Not true. I'm sorry. Oh, the Hornets. They're going to be better. They're going to be better. Hey, every organization like this has its guy that keeps the plates spinning, right? The factory had its Willy Wonka. Oz had its wizard. And we have our executive director, Dave Goren.
Thank you, Rick. Welcome to all of our guests tonight. Congratulations to all of our award winners and honorees. Let me start by thanking some people. First, to the people of Winston-Salem who have opened their arms to us. Thank you very much. Mayor Joins, Rich Geiger of Visit Winston-Salem, Don Flo, Ben Sutton, they were the ones who really got this ball rolling. And the folks at Stepstone Strategic, J.D. Wilson, Sandra Boyette, and Bill Porter, they kept it rolling on a very tight timetable. So thank you very much for all of your tremendous support. Great story. Well, actually, you'll be the judge of that. Bonnie Burnett of Visit Winston-Salem, who's here tonight. Thank you first for all of your hard work. Bonnie was out attending the National Association of Sports Commissions Convention in Sacramento about 2 months ago. And she messaged me on Facebook and said, Rick Riley's our keynote speaker, and I went up and I introduced myself, and he told me he's coming to Winston-Salem in June for the banquet. I said, really? And so I texted Rick, I said, is that true? Confirmation, and he texted back, yeah, what do you need? Golf, MC, what? And so here he is, having flown in from Los Angeles yesterday. Thanks, Rick, for not only being here, but for working for your dinner tonight. And I can say the same for Linda Cohn, Mike Lupica, Bob Ryan, Tom Verducci, Bob Rathbun, Teresa Walker, Bill Roth, Len Clark, Steve Holman, Mark Boyle, and Stan Cotton, our presenters, critiquers, and moderator at this morning's Sports Media Convergence Seminar. Thank you for doing that. You know, it takes money to keep this organization rolling. We don't sell widgets. We depend on support through memberships and sponsorships and donations. And we thank all of those whose names you've seen on our video screen and the signs this weekend. We would not be here without you. Thank you so much. Nor would we be here without our program committee. Would our program committee members and volunteers please stand? Some of these folks are veterans from Salisbury who've come with us. Some are getting their first taste of the NSMA this weekend. A round of applause for all of them, please. Thank you. Thank you to Greg Carlisle and his event, culinary, and technical staffs here at the Millennium Center. To our hosts at IMG College and Bridger Fieldhouse at Wake Forest, thank you. To our transportation providers, Flow Companies for our vans and SUVs, and Black Dye Transportation for our buses, thank you as well. Thank you to NSMA General Manager Danielle Randall. Amazing does not begin to describe what she has done in the 10 months she has been on board full time. Thank you, Danielle. Gary and Jackie Bechtel, we cannot thank you enough for believing in our mission and our vision. Thank you to you for your generosity, and thanks to that, 17 college students were able to attend our Sports Media Convergence Seminar today. 10 Fox Sports U students came from Michigan, DePaul, Syracuse, Georgetown, North Carolina, Seton Hall, Indiana, and Alabama. With those Fox Sports U students who are here tonight, please stand.
Yeah. Where are they?
We had 7 of Bill Roth's students from Virginia Tech. We also had 2 from our student chapter at Austin P. They're back there. Guys, little wave, welcome. Others here from Campbell, East Carolina, Iowa, and I'm probably forgetting a few. I apologize for that. In addition to our existing student chapters at Syracuse, Austin P, and High Point, we're starting new chapters this fall at Elon and South Carolina, all part of our mission to educate and mentor future generations of sports media. Time now to tell you about our Big House Gaines College Basketball Coaches of the Year. And here we are in the town where Big House Gaines himself won 828 games in 47 seasons as head coach, including the 1967 NCAA Division II National Championship with Earl the Pearl Monroe. Our Division II winner of the Gaines Award is our first repeat winner of the award. Anne-Marie Gilbert of Virginia Union University took her Panthers to the D2 Elite 8 last season. She took them to the championship game this season. She could not be here with us tonight. We will accept the award on her behalf. Our Division I winner is Dawn Staley. She has done about everything there is to do in basketball. National High School Player of the Year in Philadelphia, College Player of the Year, Olympic champion as an assistant coach. She's now the head coach of the U.S. Women's National Team. And in April, she took the University of South Carolina women's basketball team to its first national championship. Coach Staley had a previous commitment tonight, but she did send us her thanks on video.
Hi, this is Dawn Staley. I would like to thank the National Sports Media Association for this incredible Big House Gaines Award. I've received a lot of awards in my day, but certainly this is special because it comes because of this trophy that I'm standing next to, the National Championship Trophy. Obviously, I accept this award on the behalf of our team, our players, our coaches, because without them, this award would be impossible to receive. I'm really sorry I can't be there tonight, but you guys live it up for me. Thank you so much for the award, and I wish all the other recipients of the other awards congratulations and have a great night.
We accept the Gaines Award in her absence. Once again, congratulations to all of our winners and a sincere thank you for being here tonight. Thank you.
Okay, CBS announcer Jim Nance is a friend of mine. We play at the same club. And I say, why always the hello friends? Hello friends. You got more frickin' friends than Mark Zuckerberg. Enough with the friends. But when you get to know him, you realize he has a million friends because he's about the nicest guy in the business. And that's why we give away, well, that's part of the reason we give away the Jim Nance Award to America's best college sportscaster. And I don't give it out. It's actually given out by the man who owns the Sportscasters Talent Agency of America, John Chalesnik. John.
I appreciate that, Rick. Thank you very much. You got my name right, which is awesome. You're 1 for 1. It's been a great 5 weeks for the growth of the Jim Nance Award. I say that for a couple of reasons, some unique achievements that some of our past winners have accomplished. The first one is from 2011, Alex Faust. And I remember getting on the bus with Alex after the banquet that night. We were driving back to the hotel, and we started talking about some of his career goals. And while he enjoyed sportscasting quite a bit, he said, yeah, I've got an affinity for business too, and I think I can make more money there. So he took a job with a big company in New York City and made that his primary thing at first, but then continued to keep his foot in the door with sports broadcasting. Well, just a few weeks ago, Alex Faust, our 2011 Nance Award winner, was named to follow the great Bob Miller, who's here tonight, as the television play-by-play broadcaster for the Los Angeles Kings. That was pretty darn cool. Last year's winner, Josh Appel, again, last year's winner, he was just accepting his college diploma 12 months ago. He has signed a contract to broadcast NFL and major college football nationally for Sports USA Radio Network this fall. So that's pretty darn cool. And our winner tonight, who I'll introduce in a moment, is similarly talented. Before I introduce him, I'd like to thank our judges, Pete Arbogast, the voice of the USC Trojans, Fight On, Tom Bowman from Learfield, Chuck Cooperstein of the Dallas Mavericks, and former Nance winners, Josh Appel and Alex Faust, along with Kevin Fitzgerald, Ross Lipman, Bill Spalding, and our first Nance Award winner, Adam Cavalier. We have 5 All-Americans that we honored in addition to the Nance winner, and if I can quickly acknowledge them, they are Jake Garcia from Arizona State University, Ben Murphy from Florida State, and 3 Syracuse guys, Michael Tricarico, Evan Stockton, and Logan Raddick. So congratulations to each of them for their achievements. And now I would like to introduce you to the winner of the 2017 Jim Nance Award, the 9th annual award. He is from the University of Missouri, the first time a Tiger has won the trophy. He graduates in December. Please welcome Nate Gatter. Nate, we have a special video for you from Jim Nance.
Friends, I'm going to make this short and sweet. I had a chance to talk to Nate recently. He's a great young man. He's going to be a huge credit to our industry, and big things are on the way. Nate, I know your family is there. We talked about it. I'm so happy that all of you can share this recognition. I'm so honored to have my name attached with you, and congratulations on all that you've already accomplished. And God bless you, and good luck on all the wonderful things that are ahead on your journey. Congratulations.
Thank you. Honestly, it doesn't feel quite right that I should be at the front of this room talking to so many of you, but here we are, so I suppose I might as well say something. When I was a junior in high school, my dad gave me a necklace that I've worn ever since with St. Rita on it. Some of you might know, and you certainly would if you were raised by my mother, that St. Rita is the patron saint of impossible dreams. Now, I don't necessarily believe that St. Rita is out there protecting my dream each and every night when I go to call a game, but certainly the reason I've worn it ever since is because that symbolized to me that my dad believed in me even when I was 16 years old and I hadn't called a single game yet. But he knew this was something that I wanted more than maybe anything in the world at that point, and he wanted to be there with me every step of the way, and I felt like he was when he was right there. Wherever I might be calling a game, he's right there around my neck. And over time, it came to represent everybody who had ever been a part of my life and had believed in me, had given me even the smallest thing. And when I look at this award, as wonderful as it is, I'm only reminded of all those people without whom I simply would not be standing here tonight. There are so many, and as grateful as I am to John and to STAA and to all of you here, I know that it's really those people who made this possible, and I hope that every time I look at it in the future, I'll be reminded of them and what is possible when you have so many wonderful people who help you along the way. Thank you so much.
Oh, sure. Now you tell me about St. Rita. We're so happy to be here in Winston-Salem. This is going to be great, but we do miss a little bit of Salisbury. And whenever you hit Salisbury, you'd always see the king of Salisbury radio, Howard Platt. And Howard always had a smile on his face and a good question on his microphone. And so it was never really an award show in Salisbury until you saw Howard Platt. He retired this year after 40 years. And so that is why, and 1,000 other reasons, we are giving Howard Platt our Lifetime Achievement Award. Come on up, King. She's got a trophy for you, Howard. She's got a trophy for you. She wants her picture with you, Howard. A few words?
Laura Beth was my first board op, or not my first one, but my best one. And she ran a lot of games and did some things with us, and I appreciated her. I've been a part of Salisbury and this organization since 1980, and it's been something that I've treasured over my life. I started in Salisbury in 1978 and just retired last month. And again, I was a part of this organization for a long time. Thank you, Rick Riley, who has been a pleasure to get to know over the years. He has been a top national sportswriter more times than I can gather or count anyway. It was great to become a part of the organization as a committee member on the board of directors, a state winner one year, believe it or not, and a host. I've been able to meet with so many people, including some of the most noted broadcasters and writers in the business. Rick Riley was one of them that I was talking about. Frank Gifford, I hosted him one year. Took him all over the place. Great guy. And Lindsey Nelson, with all the jackets and the great voice that he had. I mentioned Rick Riley, Chris Berman, back. Marty Brenneman, who actually worked at the radio station many years before I did, and then went on to Tidewater Tides and the Cincinnati Reds. Bob Ryan, who I've got to know, and thankfully over the years, and all the state award winners who I've got to know over the years. You meet a lot of them when you've been coming to these things since 1980, and the organization's been a great part of many people's lives in this area, especially Salisbury, where it started in 1957, thanks to a restaurant owner, I think it was mentioned one time tonight, Pete DiMizio. He had the idea to start the organization that would honor sports media. Dr. Ed McKenzie, I think, deserves some mention. He's the one that really followed through and made the organization as prosperous and as important as it was to Salisbury. Also, Barbara Lockhart, who really was the heart of this organization for a while and did so many things and donated so much of her time. And again, she had great involvement, and we were talking about those relationships you make this morning. I think most of you who'd been coming through the years certainly knew Barbara Lockhart and her involvement with this. Hosts, I've gotten to know Joyce and Joel Goodwin, and they're people who hosted this event for many, many years in Salisbury. Hopefully some of those will hang on here in Winston-Salem. Hank and Petey Palmer, their daughter Joan has also been involved with the organization, but they were there from the beginning. And for a guy like me, it's just been the type of life that I could have, just requested. When you get to work with sports guys, and I grew up not wanting to be an athlete, but listening to sportscasters and reading sports writers, and wanted to be a part of that life, and I was able to do that. When I was a kid, again, my dream was to be a sportscaster and do play-by-play. I got to do that for many years. And once again, to be able to work in sports and talk about the things that I'd enjoyed, and that's really what my life was like, enjoying sports. Working for a couple of radio stations in Salisbury, before that Culpeper, Virginia. The best thing about it, not just the games, but the friends and associations I was able to make with all the people involved. Thanks to NSMA for enhancing my experience in a job that I always loved. I know you'd agree that we're all fortunate who's been able to work with it to have a career that we can continually enjoy. Thank you so much for this honor. Special thanks to all the people in Salisbury and Rowan County that supported me as listeners for all these years. And hopefully the NSMA continues to be supported and thrive in the coming years. My thanks once again also to Dave Goren, who I've been involved with for a number of the last few years and has allowed me to be able to be a part of the organization. Thanks, everybody.
Well said, buddy. We'll take a picture. Right here.
Oh, that's right.
Nice job. All right, now we are going to introduce the sportscasters from the states, guys that made it. Every state has a winner. To do that, we have a guy who does this better than Pavarotti sings. He does it better than Picasso paints. He does it better than Chris Christie eats. He's Doug Logan. He's a big deal in Syracuse. He's even a bigger deal now in Winston-Salem. You going to get up here? Sure. Let's do it. Good job.
Thank you. Hey, are the, no, keep going, Rick, keep going. Are the state winning sportscasters getting in line? Please get in, oh, they are? Right over here. Please line up right over here. We've got this finely tuned, all state winning sportscasters, alphabetical order by state.
True.
Linda Cohn, will you please join us up on stage?
Rejected.
And I want to thank Rick Riley kindly. On behalf of all of our state winners, heartiest congratulations to our national honorees, Vin Scully and Tom Verducci, and a special salute to Hall of Fame inductees Linda Cohn, Frank Gifford, Mike Lupica, and Sam Lacy. Now, this year's National Sports Media Association class of state honorees includes 40 first-time winners. And of our 106 winners, which includes ties, 6 are women, and that happens to be the highest total in NSMA history. And the first state to vote women as the winner of both Sportscaster and Sportswriter of the Year happened this year, and that state is Vermont. Here tonight, our honorees represent 29 states and the District of Columbia. We have with us 15 first-time winners. So now, ladies and gentlemen, introducing the NSMA Sportscasters of the Year. From Arizona, he has described no-hitters, Hail Marys, and buzzer beaters among the nearly 1,500 games he's broadcast in 19 years as the voice of the Arizona State Sun Devils. A 2-time winner, Tim Healy. From Connecticut, the 25-year voice of the Yukon Huskies. He is the only play-by-play announcer to call both the men's and women's NCAA basketball championship wins the same year. That was 2004. He also works television. 9th honor for Joe D'Ambrosio. From the District of Columbia, a broadcaster and writer who hosts the daily 4-hour show, The Fan. And he covers the Redskins while providing analysis of the NHL's Capitals and Comcast Sportsnet. First win, Grant Paulson. A tie out of the District of Columbia. In his 17th year at WTOP, 3rd as sports director, he also works for NBC4, calls games upon occasion for the George Washington Colonials and the Washington Mystics. Back-to-back honors, George Wallace. From Georgia, about to head into his 33rd year as the voice of the Atlanta Hawks, his consecutive game play-by-play streak currently stands at 2,417. A member of the Georgia Radio Hall of Fame, he has just been inducted into the Atlanta Sports Hall of Fame. Second win, Steve Holman. From Indiana, he's completed a franchise record 29 seasons as the voice of the Pacers on their statewide network and has broadcast more than 2,000 games during his NBA career. 5th honor, Mark Boyle. From Iowa, he has served as sports director at WHO-TV in Des Moines for more than 20 years. In addition to anchoring sports and hosting a daily radio show, he does pro bono work for Twitter. Second win, Keith Murphy. From Kansas, play-by-play voice of the Fort Hays State Tigers for the last 15 years, calling some 1,200 games. He also broadcasts college baseball and serves as a radio sports director in Hays. First award for Gerard Welbrock. From Kentucky, 40 years anchoring sports on WKYT-TV in Lexington, 30 years serving on the Kentucky Wildcats television network. He's just been elected into the Kentucky Athletic Hall of Fame. First honor, Rob Bromley. A tie in Kentucky. Following a solid coaching career, his broadcasting experience has led him to ESPN and the University of Louisville, while he serves as a basketball analyst on both radio and television. And he's authored a book about his brother titled The Gifts of Jimmy V. First-time winner, Bob Valvano. From Louisiana, 5-year sports director, WWL-TV in New Orleans. He's keeping an eye on the changing of the guard for the LSU football Tigers. The current president of the Press Club of New Orleans. Second win for Doug Mouton. From Maine, a 3-sport athlete at the University of Maine. He has covered his alma mater for WABI-TV for 36 years. He had the thrill of covering his own children as college athletes. First-time honor for Tim Throckmorton. Mississippi, in his 28th season as the voice of the Rebels. He's been associated with Ole Miss broadcast for 38 years. He handles football, basketball, and baseball. 8th award for David Kellum. From New Jersey, he has broadcast high school and college football and basketball in southern New Jersey for 53 years. He's also created a new digital stat service for high school games, as well as developing a live video streaming. 9th honor, Tom Williams. From New Mexico, co-host of the award-winning radio talk show, The Opening Drive on 610 The Sports Animal. He has the unique opportunity of broadcasting games for both the Aggies and the Lobos. Second straight recognition for Jeff Symbieta. From New York, the 23-year voice of the Brooklyn Nets on the Yes Network. He also works with CBS Sports, TNT, Westwood One, and the Tennis Channel. A 5-time Emmy Award winner, 3rd time honored here, Ian Eagle. From North Dakota, entering his 6th year as sports director of ESPN Radio in Jamestown, he announces 120 games a year as the voice of the University of Jamesville and local high schools. He'll call his 1,000th game before he turns 30. First win, Steve Linsmeyer. From Oklahoma, an award-winning storyteller, he's covered the Sooners, Cowboys, and Oklahoma City Thunder for 10 years. He's reported on 7 BCS bowl games, 1 national championship, and the NBA Finals. First honor, Caden McFarland. From Rhode Island, 35 years at WABC-6 in Providence, and 48 years in broadcasting. He reported on the... Stand right here, please. He reported on the Patriots' history-making comeback in Super Bowl 51 and the URI Rams' run to the NCAA tournament. He'll be retiring at the end of July. 3rd honor, Ken Bell. Rick Riley worked with him in high school. Stop the presses. Okay, South Carolina, 5 years serving as host of Straight Up with Sturge on ESPN Upstate, and 3 years as co-host of The Extra Point with Price Atkinson following Clemson football games. First recognition, Mark Sturgis. South Dakota, 3-year voice of the Northern State University Wolves, the nation's leading NCAA Division II basketball program in attendance the past 9 seasons. First win, Ben Root. From Tennessee, the popular voice of the Nashville Predators since day one, marked his 2,000th NHL broadcast in January and just celebrated his first trip to the Stanley Cup Finals. 5th honor for Pete Weber. From Texas, a 30-year fixture with the Longhorn IMG radio network, serving the past 16 seasons as the voice of the Longhorns. He's broadcast high school sports for 35 years. First win, Craig Way. From Utah, 23 seasons as the voice of the Salt Lake Bees. He's called over 3,400 games for Salt Lake. He was called up to the majors to broadcast LA Angels series in Seattle and Baltimore. He also announces for Weber State. Third honor, Steve Klauke. From Vermont, in her third year as the first female sports director in the state, working for the ABC and Fox affiliates in Burlington, she also exhibits her athletic skills in her weekly franchise called Darren Aaron. First-time winner, Aaron Caulfield. From Virginia, in his 10th year as sports director at WDBJ in Roanoke, he produced and hosted a half-hour special on the Virginia Tech-Virginia rivalry, as well as a special on the Hokies' trip to the Belt Bowl. Second straight honor, Travis Wells. From West Virginia, he's about to enter his 22nd season as the voice of the Marshall University Thundering Herd. He'll broadcast his 900th game for Marshall this fall. An 11-time winner, Steve Cotton. And from Wyoming, the 20-year morning sports anchor for KTWO Radio in Casper, reporter-photographer for WyoPreps.com. He covers the University of Wyoming Cowboys, high school sports, and rodeo. A 3-time honoree, Frank Gambino. How about one more big hand for all of our state-winning sportscasters? Thank you.
How does he do it? How does he do it? He never stumbles. He's half man, half cappuccino. He's unbelievable. Amazing. Okay, before we take our little 2-minute break, this really is real journalism. These people are actually getting their stuff checked and double-checked. Journalism is under fire right now. This organization protects real journalism. We have on the tables envelopes, pledge cards. Please help us. If we can get to 50 grand tonight, I promise I'll never be your MC again. I'm going to start with $1,000. Help us out. Enjoy your 2-minute break. Thank you so much. He's on me early. Hey, congratulations. Okay, let's do this. I got a hot mic. That's just stupid. Good day.
Maybe. We'll find out soon enough.
See, if Trump had known he had a hot mic, he'd be president today. Oh.
Get careful if you're going to run several years. Don't run again. You don't forget.
He got to be president. So you're gonna introduce the MC again, or what are you gonna just go up there? But then we're gonna do remembrances, right? First thing we're doing is remembrances. Hello. Hello. Are you done? Please take your seats. We're going to get on with the short half. This is when it gets really good after Lupica spoke. Kidding. Shh. Hey, that works. Thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been a year when we've lost some great members of our organization, great writers, sportscasters, lost a bunch of them this year. Look at your screens and remember some great people. Thank you. Sam Lacy died in 2003. If you don't know Sam Lacy, he was Sportswriter's Jackie Robinson. It was Sam Lacy who was the first black writer to be issued a Baseball Writers Association of America card. Sam Lacy was the first of many things, but it was Sam Lacy's constant bothering of Branch Rickey and telling him that you're leaving some great players behind that finally got Branch Rickey to sign Jackie Robinson. And once Jackie signed, Sam Lacy could always be seen with Jackie in the black hotels, in the black restaurants, in the Jim Crow cabs. Anywhere Jackie went, you saw Sam Lacy. He was his Boswell, except when they got to the ballpark. Jackie would go out on the field, but Sam Lacy couldn't get into the press box. In many press boxes, he was banned, even though he had his card. And I'm trying to remember the name of the stadium, but he was banned from the press box, and he said, I have the card. And they said, doesn't matter, you're on the roof. And they gave him a chair, and he took the chair, and he went up on the roof and started covering the game. And all the writers in the press box took their chairs and went up on the roof with him. That's what he meant. That's what he meant to our profession. He never stopped fighting for equal rights. And it was Sam Lacy who got equal pay for black ball players in Major League Baseball. Imagine that blacks would be paid less, even though they were often better than their teammates. They would be paid less, and for that matter, equal hotel rooms. And it was Sam Lacy who got Cooperstown to rethink their black wing of Cooperstown and eventually dissolve it all together. Amazing guy. Sam Lacy did his job for 80 years. He started at 19. He lived to be 99 years old. He filed his last column from a hospital bed at 99 years old and died in that bed 2 days later. So that's why it's my great honor tonight to induct and accept for Sam Lacy the NSMA Hall of Fame Award. Sam, if you're listening, we think we have a great seat for you right up front. Sam Lacy. Now, hockey. Are you going to be back? Yeah. Hockey. We're going to do this hockey thing first. Then we're going to get to you. Okay. Well, you remember Jack Kent Cooke. 1966, Jack Kent Cooke is a Canadian man who buys the LA Kings. And the reason he buys the LA Kings is because he hears that 300,000 Canadians live in Southern California. But after the first 3 years, nobody's coming to the Kings games. And he said, I finally figured out why 300,000 Canadians moved to Southern California, because they all hate hockey. But I live in Southern California, and I can tell you now, we're crazy about hockey. Millions of hockey fans now in Southern California. Hundreds and thousands, and more than that, huge LA Kings fans. And the reason is for that, part of the reason, is that this man who called the games for all these years, who you're about to meet, Bob Miller, was the voice of the LA Kings for 44 years. He called 3,353 hockey games. That's a lot of hockey. it wasn't really a Kings game until you heard Bob's voice on the radio. Here's how popular Bob was. One year the Kings make the playoffs, a rarity for some of those years. They make the playoffs, but NBC had a deal where only their announcers, only their coverage, no one else was allowed to call the games, just NBC. So the local guys could go suck a lemon. Well, the Kings announced that Bob Miller wasn't going to be calling the game. It was going to be NBC. Well, fans freaked out. Fans went crazy. They threatened to boycott. They wanted Bob Miller, or it wasn't really a Kings game without Bob Miller's voice. So the Kings, up against the wall, said, okay, we'll let Bob tape delay the game. You called it live. They played it immediately after the NBC game, and a lot of fans waited to hear your call. That's how popular this man is. But you don't have to hear Bob Miller on videotape. We got him live for you. Bob Miller accepting a Lifetime Achievement Award. Congratulations, buddy. Bob, as you walk over there, I'll remind now the sports writers can line up in the hallway. They're not going to listen to you, Bob. They're going to be in the hallway.
Thank you very much. Rick, thank you for that introduction. I appreciate it. It's certainly a pleasure to be here in Winston-Salem tonight and to have the hospitality that we have enjoyed. And I am really honored with this prestigious award. I know that as a youngster, I had the desire to be a broadcaster, but I also, growing up in Chicago, wanted to be a baseball player. My broadcasting career was determined one year at the University of Iowa, where I went to school, played 2 years of baseball there, did not play very much. I wasn't very good. But one day we had an inter-squad game, and I was facing our best pitcher, a guy by the name of Bob Pearl. And I got a solid base hit to left field, and I was standing on first base, really feeling good about myself, thinking I just got a solid hit off of our best pitcher. And I heard our coach holler, "Pearl, how could you let him get a hit?" And I knew right then, I think my baseball career is over and I'll head into broadcasting. But I had a great time at the University of Iowa working for the campus radio station, and really had a great 57-year career in radio and TV, 44 years with the Los Angeles Kings. And Rick mentioned the number of games. A lot of bad hockey I saw, but I did see 2 Stanley Cups in 3 years in 2012 and 14. I want to congratulate all the state winners, and especially a former partner of mine on the Kings telecast and radio broadcast, Pete Weber, the voice of the Nashville Predators. And his wife, Claudia, there. And we all know that none of us in this room are successful in broadcasting or sports writing without tremendous support from your family. And I've been very fortunate to have that. And my wife of 54 years is with us tonight, Judy. Stand up. So I truly appreciate this award. I retired on April 9th, did the last game April 9th of this year after that many years with the LA Kings. And I really have enjoyed meeting so many friends here at the NSMA convention. And I thank Dave for putting all this together, he and his staff. Thanks to Winston-Salem for the great hospitality that we have had here in the last couple of days. Thank you very much.
Well done, buddy. Thank you. You give them the Oscars push-off, I noticed. So you say your wife made it to the event tonight, huh, Bob? Okay, okay.
The boys are recording the whole.
Okay, yeah, right. Sports writers are next. Last night we sat around, fellas, and we came up with 3 sentences that none of us have ever written. In fact, we decided that these 3 sentences have never been uttered in the history of the English language by anybody. Right, fellas? And I'm going to read the list now. Number 1, Shaq, you shoot the technical. Never. Number 2, hey, Donald Trump's coming to my quinceanera party. No, that's never been said. And Tiger, meet my sister. Never been said. Oh, I'm sorry. Doug Logan, help me out.
Great job, Rick. Great job, Rick Riley. Now, ladies and gentlemen, let's meet our NSMA Sports Writers of the Year. From Colorado, in 25 years as a sports columnist at the Denver Post, he covered 3 Super Bowl champions and has twice been nominated for a Pulitzer Prize. Second win for Mark Kisla. From Georgia, he says he has survived at the Atlanta Journal-Constitution since 1989, writing columns and long features. He had to pull off a quick rewrite after the closing minutes of last year's Super Bowl. 8th honor for Steve Hummer. From Maryland, in his 6th season covering the Orioles for the Baltimore Sun, he followed 3 Orioles playoff teams in the last 5 years, a 4-time AP Sports Editors Award winner, first-time honoree Eduardo Encina. From Mississippi, this professional has been voted Sports Writer of the Year while writing for 4 different newspapers. His column is now syndicated in 25 papers. Win number 10, Rick Cleveland. From North Carolina, one of the original beat writers for the Carolina Panthers, he has also covered the NBA, the PGA Tour, NASCAR, college football and basketball, and the outdoors for 36 years. Second award, Ed Hardin. From North Dakota, 12 years covering the University of North Dakota Fighting Hawks and college hockey for the Grand Forks Herald. He has reported on 9 NCAA Frozen Fours. First win for Brad Schlossman. From Oklahoma, native of the Sooner State, he's reported on athletics since Troy Aikman, Bill Self, Spencer Tillman, and Wayman Tisdale were in the 10th grade. He writes for the Tulsa World. First award for Mike Brown. From Oregon, she has covered Oregon State athletics for Oregonian for more than 3 years, chronicling football's rebuilding project under Gary Anderson and the women's basketball Beavers' historic run to the Final Four. First win for Gina Mizell. From South Carolina, in his 3rd year as a prep sports coordinator at the state newspaper in Columbia, covering several nationally ranked high school programs, including the 15-0 Dutch Fork football team. He also covered Tim Tebow's arrival with the Columbia Fireflies. Second honor for Lou Bajak. From Tennessee, working for the Associated Press in Nashville, she reported on the death of Volunteers legendary coach Pat Summitt. She also covered the Super Bowl, the Predators, the Rio Olympics, and the Tennessee Titans, the hiring of Mike Mularkey. Second win, Teresa Walker. From Virginia, he's worked at the Daily Press and Newport News since '84. He's inducted into the Virginia Sports Hall of Fame in 2014 and the USBWA Hall of Fame in April. A 10-time winner here, David Teal. And from West Virginia, he left the Charleston Gazette-Mail and joined the athletic department at Marshall University as the assistant athletic director for fan, donor, engagement, and communications. He produces feature content for the Thundering Herds website and the magazine. 5th honor here for Chuck McGill. Ladies and gentlemen, how about one more big round of applause for our state-winning Sports Writers of the Year and all of tonight's honorees. Thank you very much.
Nice job. Okay, Vin Scully. Every now and then I see a table I haven't seen all night. How are you? Vin Scully is winning an award tonight, but it's not a Lifetime Achievement Award. and it's not a Hall of Fame award. He was voted National Sportscaster of the Year this year. This year, in his 66th year on the job, he was voted best in the country. That is he's the oldest ever to win that award, by the way. He was 89 years old. Now, Vin is actually older than sliced bread. He is. He was born in 1927. Sliced bread was invented in 1926. So when people say, this is the greatest thing since sliced bread, they know they're not including Vin Scully. Because that's how great Vin Scully is. That's absolutely true. He and I, again, play golf at this place with all these great announcers. And so I see him sometimes, and I said, Vin, I'm going to be accepting your award. What do you want me to tell the people of Winston-Salem and all the state winners and the national guys? And he thought about it, and he said, be brief. So that's typical of Vin. So I just thought I'd tell one story. It has nothing to do with Vin's career, but just what it's like to be Vin Scully's friend. I was sitting at lunch with him one day, and I said, hey, Vin, I heard you made a hole-in-one. And the thing about being with Vin Scully, it's exactly like listening to him on the radio. There's no difference. So I go, Vin, you make a hole-in-one? And he says, well, you know, it's funny. I was playing golf with a guy that would make a cup of coffee nervous, and I wasn't really having a banner day. Well, lo and behold, I hit a 6-iron on the 5th hole. Well, it sounded like I hit it with the morning paper, so I didn't have high expectations for the shot. Well, what do you know? It bounces off the bunker rake, along the frog hair, and rolls into the cup for the proverbial ace. Well, you could have knocked me over with a noodle. And I came back to the clubhouse, and Lord in heaven, there were a lot of thirsty fellas. Then we all went to Farmer John. It's just great. It's just great to be his friend. That's just how he is. He's the nicest guy. And so I will tell Vin, I got that done in 1 minute and 43 seconds. He says, thank you so much. He can't fly anymore. He wishes he could be here, but he accepts it with humility. Thank you. Vin gets nothing, and he'll like it. He gets no trophy. Screw Vin Scully, 89 years old. What's he ever done for us? All right. Your National Sportswriter of the Year. What? Well, we have a trophy for him, don't we? Okay. Your National Sportswriter of the Year is Tom Verducci from Sports Illustrated. No. I'm going to be honest. I am sick to death of being happy for Tom Verducci. Okay? I'm sickest. I mean, the guy's handsome. He writes like an angel. Now he's a TV star. He won 2 Emmys. I read his stuff and I want to throw my laptop through the window. I want to look like him one night. I'm sick to death of Tom Verducci and being happy for Tom. He's already got it made. What do you want? Look at the guy. And he can do anything? This is ridiculous. So, honestly, I hope he trips. I hope he dies in a fiery boat accident. I'm over you. Tom Verducci, your National Sportswriter of the Year. Thank you.
I just want to belong to your golf club. Vin Scully, Jim Nantz. Oh, man. And wait a second. What is this about your minor league baseball team? It's actually named after a punctuation mark? How perfect is this marriage? NSMA and Winston-Salem. Way to go. By the way, I do have to thank everybody at Winston-Salem, not only the people here in the room, but I really do mean everybody, because Salisbury set the bar pretty high in terms of hospitality and putting on a great show. And you guys are matching that, so hopefully this is a long marriage. And by the way, I congratulate all the other winners tonight, state winners, especially Linda and Mike, Hall of Fame. Mike, I got to tell you, my mom was a very avid reader of Mike Lupica in the Daily News. And I know growing up in our house that I really did learn this lesson that when we bring that newspaper or that television is on, we're inviting journalists into our homes, into our living rooms. And that is a special bond. So thank you for that, Mike. You know, I love spring training. It's my favorite time of year. I love to watch pitchers do their stuff in the bullpen, batting practice, all the little things you don't get a chance to see up close and personal, the drills that are going on. All right, I'll be honest, I love not having to shovel my driveway that time of year. And I was thinking about spring training recently because I was thinking about Frank Gifford. And I know we've mentioned Frank earlier tonight, one of the great American writers, not just sports writers. Certainly created a legend for himself and for all of us who follow him at SI. Frank came to North Carolina, by the way, for the first time in 1982 for the first of 6 of these awards, National Sportswriter of the Year awards. I was just starting out in the business then, and I know that Frank set the bar, and I knew it then, set the bar really high. And you either were demoralized by how high that bar was, or you were inspired by it. And I thank Frank for giving me that inspiration. But in rereading Frank recently, I came across an essay he wrote about spring training. And he was talking to Bill Veeck, then the owner of the Chicago White Sox. And Bill Veeck was talking about how over time, spring training changes in terms of the players, the uniforms, the complexes. But he said one thing really has to stay the same. He said spring training has to have the same atmosphere. It must prevail because spring training is first and always a time of dreams and wishful thinking. Wishful thinking. You know, by the time the season starts and things start for real, we kind of lose that optimism and the wishful thinking. And I think the same thing can happen in today's media environment. We start off with good intentions, but it is extremely competitive. And what I'm seeing now is in this competitive landscape that the cult of personality, I call it, or opinion-driven journalism really starts to win the day. In other words, if you really want to stand out sometimes, you do that by being the loudest. To me, that's the complete opposite of that spring training atmosphere of wishful thinking. But I've got an idea, and it comes inspired by Frank and reading him again so much in these last couple of months. What if we had spring training all year? And I'm not talking about the actual spring training, that spring training kind of mentality. What if, you know, we kind of tamp down the opinion-driven journalism, the mean tweets, the hot takes? Let's do a little more good journalism. And by that, I mean good journalism is really hard to do. Opinion-driven journalism is easy to do. And I think that's why it drives a lot of people. But to me, that's kind of like a bag of potato chips. It's salty, but there's no nutritional value. Good journalism takes a lot of work. And I think Frank, as I said, was really an inspiration for me. And especially once I got to Sports Illustrated, it really was an honor to be on the same masthead as Frank Gifford. Now, Frank was a guy who loved writing more than he loved sports. I think he almost didn't like that term, sports writer, because the writing came first before the sports. And I know so many people, when Frank passed, those of us in the business talked about how we all wanted to write like Frank. No question about it. But I think what we lost sight of, all the people who made that comment, was all the things that preceded the actual writing that Frank did so well. To me, you build a bridge toward that final piece of writing that gets in front of your reader. And you do that with 3 things. First, it starts with reporting. Frank was as good a reporter as he was a writer, if not better. The power of observation, which is part of your reporting, but don't underestimate how important that is. And finally, structure, how you structure a piece. And Rick was one of the all-time best at doing that, no question about it. But Frank, to me, again, set the bar high, the highest when it came to how you structure a story, even before you get to the writing phase. Frank also brought respect and wonder, I thought, to the craft. Listen, he did this for more than 50 years, and I never got the sense that he ever lost his sense of curiosity and wonder. And that's an amazing thing, because in this business, cynicism is the worst enemy. It's not the athletes. It's not guys like David Price with the Red Sox who, call us expletives when he doesn't even know us. Our biggest enemy is cynicism, and that's easy to do in our business. There's lots to complain about. You can complain about the travel. You can complain about the athletes. You can complain about the gas station dinners. You can complain about your editors. By the way, I don't do that. I got one of the best right here tonight. Stephen Cannella from SI, thank you. And thank you for coming down here. I really appreciate that. But I'm with Frank in this regard. All those reasons you have to complain, and there's a million of them. To me, it's easy to beat back if you start from one premise, and that means everything you write has to be the absolute best that you can do. And I know Mike talked about this. Sometimes you only have 45 minutes to write. If I'm lucky, I have a couple of weeks sometime. But it doesn't matter, because when you pick up that article, that story, you have no idea how it was produced, but it better be of the absolute highest quality. And that's what we do at SI. And Rick, I know, can attest to this. I've been a beat writer in New York. There's a lot of pressure there. But there's no pressure like writing for SI, where you have to hit a home run every single time. I spent a lot of time around Joe Madden, by the way, the last year, the manager of the Cubs, of course. Shameless book plug coming. My book, The Cubs Way. I spent a lot of time with him for that. And I actually learned a lot from him, not just about baseball, but kind of philosophies of life. And speaking of spring training, he had a really cool idea that I've kind of latched onto. Spring training for him was not so much about all the repetition and the drills, getting your innings in, getting your work in. For him, he said, what he wants his team to do by the end of spring training is to think well. Think well. And I love the sound of that, because that's where everything good really does begin, when you get yourself in a good frame of mind. So I thought about thinking well. I thought about spring training. I thought about Frank Gifford again. And I think Frank was the guy who told the great stories with a great mix of curiosity and skepticism. I don't want you to think that this all means going soft on the things that we write about, okay? It is our job, when we see wrong in the sports that we love, to point it out, to hold people accountable. It always will be. But I think if we all had Frank's sense of wonder and curiosity, even that deep into a career, whether it's first day or 50 years, I think the business would continue to really flourish. By the way, Frank wrote in the glory days of sports journalism. Well, maybe not sports journalism, but sports expense accounts. He was assigned to write a story on the Boston Celtics and John Havlicek. So he's traveling with the team, and this is how long ago this is. He's interviewing Havlicek. He sets up an interview with Havlicek on the plane while the team's flying. Well, to get the interview done, Havlicek has to leave his seat in coach to talk to Frank in first class. That is not happening these days, people. But to me, this is really, truly a humbling award, first of all, because everything that Dave Goren and the people at NSMA do to promote journalism, not just among us, but especially among young people, and many of them are here tonight. And also, whenever you get an award from your peers, I don't think there's any higher honor than when your colleagues recognize you. And now for me, and Dave informed me of this, that there's only 5 people previously that had won this award 3 times in a row. And I mean, it's murderer's row of sports writers. Frank Gifford, of course, Red Smith, Jim Murray, and 2 greats here tonight, Bob Ryan and Rick Riley. So following in your footsteps, that's pretty cool. I also wanted to read you something that Frank once said that I truly identify with. He said, I wanted to be a writer as soon as I learned how to write. It didn't have to be sports, but sometimes life takes you by the scruff of the neck, and you go with it. And sports had everything to me, the characters, the drama, the settings. If you can't write sports, get out of the business. I was the same way. I always did love to write, but for me, I love to write sports even from an early age. It seemed like the natural thing to do to combine the two of them. And I feel like even today, that nothing has really changed for me. I still kind of look at it as a kid, that kind of wishful thinking I talked about when you have that let's go get it attitude in spring training. For me, I'm glad that I still have that. And I will leave you with one last piece of advice. This is not from me. Somebody once asked Frank Gifford for the best piece of advice he ever received. Frank thought for a minute, and he said, I'll tell you what it was. It was something I was told by Colonel Sanders. Yeah, the dude from KFC. He said the colonel told him, son, if you want people to listen to you, wear a white suit. I'm working on that, but thank you so much for this, and think well.
Think well. Can you take a picture? Hey, you want your trophy? Okay, now do this. Linda Cohn is our Hall of Fame sportscaster, and to introduce her is something we've never had, have we? We have a doctor. A doctor is in the house. He's going to introduce her. It's her brother, Howard Cohn. Howard.
Yeah, it is kind of funny. Linda did ask me if I would want to do this, and I said, well, this is a different room. First of all, before I talk about Linda, which is an easy thing to do for me, growing up with her, it's just been an honor being in this room among sportscasters, sports writers, announcers, and as a fan, I just wanted to have 2 seconds to say thank you, because you have brought sports to life for us over the years, and you have told the story of sports, and you don't always appreciate it until you're like in that bar and then the sound's not on. You want to see what's happening. You want to hear what's happening. You get to see what a big part that is. Or, when I grab a piece of a paper of an article I want to read about a game or a sports, and then I get halfway through and it says continued on page 9, and I'm like, oh, I didn't grab page 9. So I thank you all for doing what you do. I don't know anything other than seeing Linda on TV. My 2 daughters, there's Aunt Linda, no matter where it is. And, I would be anywhere in this country, and I would say, oh, it's my sister on TV. And like, yeah, whatever. So it's been an incredible thing. I just want to share a couple minutes about things that you might not know about Linda. Linda actually was and still is an athlete. She's not just a talking head. She's always been an athlete, and not an easy one at that. She picked a real rough sport. She picked ice hockey as her favorite, although she dominated in everything. She played, softball, baseball. She played tennis. She played basketball. She did all these different things. And, growing up, it's a little tough when your oldest sister, growing up in New York, it's hard to get any street cred when your oldest sister kicks your butt at every single sport there is, especially hockey. But it really wasn't until hockey that when she put on that goalie mask where you saw that those were her first superpowers. It was like Iron Man putting on the suit. I mean, she became something that I never saw before. And if you remember a couple years ago, I think it was the year before last, she actually still doing it. She just tried out for the Florida Panthers when they're out down 2 goalies and took some shots from some Panthers. And it's just amazing to watch years later. Linda has broken down a lot of walls. She's been I actually call her the Billie Jean King for female sports, only because I had a couple people randomly come up and say your sister is like the Billie Jean King for sports broadcasting. Because I remember, before she was on TV, she was on radio, and she was the first female in New York City ever allowed to call the sports. So you look at where we've come. There was no female before her that ever called the sports in New York City. You can make it there, you can make it anywhere. And she went to Cairo and Seattle, and then ESPN for 25 years, and it was really neat to watch her do her 5,000 show last year. If you could imagine doing anything 5,000 times, that's 5,000 times. Not only is she the longest running female at SportsCenter, she's done more sports centers, anchored more sports centers than any sportscaster in that history. And there are times I've talked her off the ledge late at night, because she, it's a tough job, as you know, at times. And I just remind her there used to be a show called The Dream Job that everybody wanted, which was her job. And although I, feel like I've been there along with her, our sports world have crossed by being a doctor and getting athletes back on the field and designing programs to have them excel. And now our lives are together a lot, and we've seen some iconic stuff together, iconic games. I love her. Please help me welcome up my sister, Linda Cohn.
Wow, it's a good thing I lift weights, in my spare time, because we all have spare time. Hey, thanks for hanging out for me. I appreciate it. It's awesome to be here. I'm telling you. Oh, that break was good. I got to walk around and get my energy back. It's usually past my bedtime now. That's the secret to longevity. Go to bed before 10. I brought notes up here. I'm not going to read them, but if I do read them, I'll be putting on these cute glasses. But I know I'm not alone with readers in this room. But first, I just want to say this is crazy for me and amazing for me. I have to first thank everyone from Winston-Salem. I love this town. It's amazing. Dave Goren and NSMA, incredible staff that Dave has, and Dave for making this happen. Let's give a hand to everyone, please, for them. There are so many volunteers that make this event take place, and they do it, it's 5-star. It's incredible, so thank you. I never experienced Salisbury, but I love Winston-Salem, so that's awesome. A few things about Winston-Salem, and one close to my heart before I get going here and start this off. The late, great Stuart Scott, a good friend of mine forever and ever and ever, is looking down. He's from Winston-Salem. He meant a lot to me in my years at ESPN, and we were very close, and probably his most important contribution to me was giving me my first Krispy Kreme donut. And he reminded me, you must always have these warm. And I'm sure you agree. So I just wanted to say that. But I also want to thank, obviously, my brother, who's amazing. He said everything amazing. And my sister also, he said my older sister, Eileen. She's actually the best speaker in the family. She has the way with words. She was on the debate team. I was not. So I'm glad she's here with her husband, Randy. My boyfriend, Matt, is here. Always my life coach, goalie coach, always supportive of me and everything I do. My 2 kids, I hope they're watching this because Dave told me it's being streamed through a computer. I'm not familiar with computers at times. I don't know what streaming is. I barely know what Skype is, but I know social media. So hopefully they're watching. My incredible, beautiful daughter, Sammy, and my amazing son, Dan, they are watching right now. With these kind of things, there are 2 other Hall of Fames I've been inducted to. The Jewish Sports Hall of Fame. Are you familiar with that one? I'm in it. Me and Dolph Hayes. Mike Lupica knows that guy. The other one I'm in is the Oswego Sports Hall of Fame. I did go to Oswego State. I know there are a few Syracuse people here, but you're familiar with that other school, 45 minutes away, the more scenic school on Lake Ontario, beautiful sunsets. Perhaps you've heard of it. I had great times there. One of my greatest inspirations came from Oswego State. It was a professor. His name was Fritz Mazier. And what was Fritz's claim to fame for me? Even though you can't tell it now during this induction speech, he taught me to lose my New York accent. It only works usually when the red light is on when I'm on the air, unless the certain words come up, which always fool me. The New York accent comes out. And that's like one of the things I'm most proud of. And by the way, you're probably wondering, well, how did he teach you to lose your New York accent? And Fritz would say to me, it can work for any accent, actually, not just New York accent. All you have to do is open your mouth wider when you speak and speak slower. And when you do so, you lose the accent, at least some of it. So to that day, I owe that to Fritz, and that's one of the great things about Oswego State. But there's so many people I want to thank, because these are the kind of things you do with this thing. You thank people. And it's funny, when I think about the people to thank, besides my family and my support group, my sister Donna, by the way, is also, she couldn't make it, and she's a great support, it's interesting, being in this business for decades that I have been, when I think about the people I want to thank, there really are men that took a chance on me. I wish I could say I was thanking women, but except for people close in my family, it was the men along the way. Before I get to them, because I have some interesting quick stories, I need to thank my parents who are no longer with me. My dad is the reason why that I got into sports, that I love sports the way I do, and no better guy to teach me how to toss an F-bomb than my father. My father, Hank, was amazing at that. It could have been his strength as a father. He's looking down and smiling because, you know, he always wanted to do what I wanted to do. He was an accountant, and I saw how pathetically unhappy he was as an accountant. But he was the biggest sports fan I knew. And when I think about him, not only that he taught me how to curse, watching his favorite teams play, but he taught me how to ride that roller coaster of being a sports fan. And you know what I'm talking about. I really hope everyone in this business still remembers how they were as a child, being a sports fan, because I've never forgotten it. And I think that's one of the reasons for my longevity. And that's one of the reasons why I love what I do so much, because I always have that passion for the teams that I love and that I grew up for, and the athlete, and the coach, and the story, and the fan, because I too am a fan. And I said to myself, I never wanted to lose that feeling of being a fan. Maybe I was addicted to it, but it's really something great to be addicted to. And my dad taught me that. And that's really significant. I never would be here if it wasn't for my father, Hank. Now, my mother, Lil, was a RN. She's no longer with us as well, but she's looking down and smiling. You know, how many mothers who dreamed about and wanted me to play the violin, I preferred the drums. A mother who wanted me to play tennis like a Billie Jean King. I was great. I mean, I was really good at tennis. There were pros that said, you know, if you keep this up and stick to tennis, who knows? But I said, sorry, Mom, I want to play ice hockey and I want to be a goalie. How many moms on Long Island would find a place back in 1975, a hockey league that allows girls to play with boys and play ice hockey? She found one. It was called Racket and Rink in Farmingdale, Long Island. The Islanders used to practice there. I'll get to them in a second. I can't stand it, but I have to bring them up. But my mother found this league. I mean, she says, honey, I found this league. You can play goalie. And I started playing street hockey, you know, with my brother. But that wasn't enough for me. I realized I was good, not bad for a girl that was heavily nearsighted. I was a goalie and had great eye-hand coordination. I still don't understand how that happened. But she found this ice hockey league. I never skated before in my life. I learned to skate with 40 pounds of goalie equipment. That's how much I wanted to play hockey. So there I was, but there was a catch. At the time I decided I wanted to play hockey, she said, I know you're 14 years old, but the only way they're going to allow you to play with boys is if you play with 8-year-olds. I mean, that's the cat. I go, I babysit for 8-year-olds. Well, here I was putting on the goalie mask. Moms of the 8-year-olds were staring at me like I was from Mars. What is that? What's this girl with a mask with a ponytail sticking out of her goalie mask? What is this? And she's on your team? So that's when I learned to grow 8 layers of skin. And when I mean that, I mean blocking out the noise. Blocking out people who looked at me like I was from another planet, that I didn't belong, that what are you doing here? You shouldn't be here. It's funny, that would come into play later in my life. What did I do? As I was just continuing to do something that I love, which is sports and talking sports, being a part of sports. Yeah, my number one dream was to play in the NHL. That wasn't happening. There was no women's hockey league when I was playing goalie every day. No women were going to the Olympics, so I couldn't do that. So if it wasn't for my parents, would not be where I was today. They gave me the strength. I made the men's hockey team in my senior year in high school. And when I was bringing up the point about how men gave me opportunities and believed in me, well, the men's hockey coach of Newfield High School in Center Reach, Long Island, gave me an opportunity to make the boys' team. I was the backup goalie, and I remember him knocking on the ladies' room door. Yeah, that's where I put on my 40 pounds of goalie equipment and changed because there's no place to change. And he told me, you made the team. And I remember me telling him, I won't let you down. Because that was a big gamble to put a girl on a boys' hockey team in high school. But that's what he did. I won't let you down. And every time I say those words, I say, oh my goodness, something tells me I'm going to be saying that again later. And yes, I was. All those incredible male bosses along the way that took a chance on me. Because they saw something in me. They saw the passion in my eyes for sports and what I love to do. You know, whether it was Frank Brinker, the news director at WALK Radio, my first real job out of college at Oswego State. I started out in news, but everybody was noticing the 25 seconds when I did sports and said the scores. You really like sports, don't you, Linda? Yeah, I do. So I volunteered to cover the New York Islanders back in the 80s when they were really good. And I hated the New York Islanders. I'm a Rangers fan. How about that for sacrifice? But I did it. Why? Because I wanted to be in this business. I sacrificed and covered the New York Islanders. Saw Denny Potvin last year, and I brought up that story to him, even though I'm one of the people that yell Potvin sucks at Madison Square Garden, all the time. He's like, I know, Linda, I hear you when the Panthers come to town, because he's the color analyst for the Panthers. But seriously, that's the kind of stuff, that I knew I wanted to be in this business. And I had a plan B and a plan C, but it was always revolving around sports if I wasn't going to make it. And so covering the Islanders really worked out great. And then I met another amazing man, Ed Ingles from WCBS Radio. He really gave me a tremendous break when he allowed me to do sportscasting, doing sports updates overnight on WCBS AM 88, News Radio 88. This was before WFAN. This was before sports radio in New York City. And here I was talking sports overnight, doing updates. These are the kind of men that took chances on me when no women were doing what I was doing, but they saw something in me. And that was cool. And whether it was Frank Miller or Frank Murphy from CBS Radio, who gave me an opportunity to work on network radio, or the great Shelby Whitfield, who hired me at ABC Radio. That's where I got to meet Winston-Salem native Howard Cosell. Howard, a great, great friend of Shelby Whitfield. They went back, and I'll never forget my moments with Howard Cosell. They usually involved him going like this to me, come sit on my lap, Linda. Back in the day, you sit on Howard Cosell's lap. You don't know any better. It's different now, but I'll tell you, he was something special. But he believed in me as well, too. So I knew I was on the right track to something. When Howard Cosell spends some time with you, you're in good shape. You know what's going on. You know that he wouldn't care. He wouldn't care. What's this woman of talking sports for? He liked me. So the people along the way made a big deal for me, and that was great. And then I knew I was still on the right track. So fast forward, really, after Seattle, John Littman, the news director for KIRO-TV, first commercial affiliate I did TV for in Seattle. I went all the way to Seattle to get my break, and I realized ESPN came calling 6 months into that reporter anchor job in Seattle. 6 months into that job where I moved across the country to Seattle for a new life. And it was great I went there because ESPN came calling, but then I said, I really want to, it was a good move to hone my skills and stay there in Seattle for a while. It slowed me down. As a woman in this role and trying to break through, I just wanted to show everybody I really knew what I was talking about, but I really loved what I was talking about. And it wasn't an act. And I was so obsessed with that. So I was on this treadmill of doing this and doing that. And in Seattle, I was able to stop and have my daughter and have children and it was amazing. And that was one of the things when I look back, that it wasn't all about the job or who I worked for. The most important thing was family. And having my children, Sammy and Dan, were the most important things to me. So ESPN came calling again, just like I thought they would, and I was better the second time they called. And then it was 1992 when I started working there. That's 25 years ago. And it's funny, 2 years in, without any feedback for the first 2 years, Steve Anderson and John Walsh, two amazing people, called me into their office, and I'll always remember the day because it was Game 7. Of course, I equate everything to sporting events. Game 7 of the Eastern Conference Final in 1994 between the Devils and the Rangers, soon to be a classic that went into double overtime. But before I went home to sit there on the couch to watch it, Steve Anderson and John Walsh called me into their office and said, listen, Linda, you have 2 years left on your deal, but we're only going to extend it for 1 year. We want you to do better. We want to see the Linda that we see in the newsroom. We want to see the Linda that loves to talk sports to us. We want to see the Linda that to her friends and her family bursts through when she's talking about sports. And the first time I ever got feedback, and they said, we don't see that. We're going to let you go. We're going to let you go. It was the first time I ever got any feedback. We're going to let you go. And so, yeah, it was like a kick to the gut. And why did they do it on a night where I was looking forward to Rangers-Devils, Game 7 in Eastern Conference Final? But I blocked that out when I was watching the game, of course, and of course it came out well. Double overtime win for the Rangers. Macho. But the thing was, that was part of the learning experience for me. Just when you think everything's going great, you almost get let go. And so it turned out to be a great decision. I understood their message. I was able to take that criticism and run with it and not get down, and became the person that I am when I'm talking to you guys, or when at Table 8, the great Table 8, when we're talking sports. Give yourselves a hand. You were great. You know, and so that's what was coming out finally. And what's really amazing is the fact that I just feel that another reason why I keep doing what I'm doing is the fact that you always, and I talk to young people all the time about it, is that you always make believe someone's seeing you for the very first time. Like, it doesn't matter how long you're on TV. It doesn't matter how long you write. You just have to kind of channel the fact that you're still proving to people that you love what you do, you enjoy what you do, and you want to share it, that story, with those who want to watch, and maybe they're watching for the very first time. That's how you never rest on your laurels. And I always share the other message because I learned the lesson, to be you. Don't try to be somebody else. I know it sounds cliche, but let me tell you, real life, I almost got let go because I wasn't myself. And then I realized, what the heck am I worried about those people for? I'm going to be myself. I'm going to let the New York accent out. I'm going to show my love for hockey. I'm going to be sarcastic like any New Yorker would, and, you know, let the chips fall where they may. But look where I end up, here with you guys, with all these amazing, talented people in this room. I'm so grateful. I'm so happy. And I really thank everyone for being part of my great night. And I can't thank you enough, so thank you very much.
Congratulations.
Oh,
Love
great.
the outfit.
Awesome.
Hey, will you stay up here? We're going to do the back. Linda Cohn, well done. Now we need Mike Lupica and Tom Verducci up to the stage, please. Now, in Winston-Salem, you don't know this, but we go a little batty, and we're going to see how this works. We get bats from who? Louisville Sluggers? Yes, we give them Louisville Sluggers, but where are they, Dave? Oh, they're being fetched. And here you go. Here's your slugger. See, it's got your name on it. You see it?
Wait, did you engrave that, Rick?
Yes, I was up all night.
So
And now you do campy little things. Exactly. Yes. Mike, we're doing this. There you go. Why is Dave in the picture? Okay, now left-handed. Thank you. Now,
one more time.
Winston-Salem, you've been great. Yes, thank you.
Thank you, Rick Riley.
Yes, thank you. Are you going to
Thank you, Rick Riley. Thank you again to all our volunteers. Thank you, Winston-Salem, for being a great host for 2017. We look forward to seeing you June 23rd, 24th, and 25th, 2018. Don't forget the envelopes. Please place your pledge cards in them. Our volunteers will pick those up. Our after party tonight is at the Marriott in the hotel bar, the Grays. For those of you who are getting shuttled back to the airport tomorrow, we will have a departure board with schedule in the hotel lobby by the registration desk. Please drive safely. Thank you very much.